Alright, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy, Daddy Dougie. And I got a quick little video that I wanted to put up here. Basically, something went down last week that involved my son, and it kind of had me feeling some type of way. It was a situation that I kind of just needed to handle off the cuff. And in the moment, I felt like I handled it right. But then afterwards, when I was able to kind of look back and analyze things, I felt like I may not have handled it the best way that I should have. And so it kind of had me thinking like maybe I need to go back and revisit it with my son, but it looked like he had moved on from the incident, so I didn't want to kind of like bring it back up again. So basically what I'm going to do is kind of break down what happened, let you guys know what I did, and then I'll solicit some opinions from you guys. You let me know, what you think I should have done differently, or if what you would have done in that same situation. And so that's what we're going to do. Y'all ready? Let's go. If this is one of your first time catching one of my videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you don't miss a thing. So just get right into it, right? This is what happened. I'm at the baseball field one day last week. One of my sons had a baseball game, the other one had practice, so I'm there watching my younger kid play baseball and keeping an eye on my other son who's at practice. He's on some of the fields that are kind of far away. But then I see him kind of in the middle of the practice running over towards the snack bar, chasing one of his fellow teammates. And I'm thinking they're just boys, they're goofing around, right? He's 12 years old, he's just doing his thing. But then I notice kind of once he gets to the snack bar, which is probably maybe like 200-300 feet from me, it's kind of a ways away, so I can't hear what's going on, but I can see. I notice he's kind of grabbing towards the kid's hands, and the kid's kind of like, keeping something away from him. So I'm kind of thinking like, why does it look like he's got something that belongs to my son, but he's not giving it to him? And I guess I give you a little bit of context. So my son's kind of average for his age. He's 12 years old. He's not too big for a 12-year-old or too small for a 12-year-old. He's just kind of average for his height and his age. But this team that he's on is 12 and 13-year-olds. And this kid that he's over there goofing around with happens to be a 12-year-old, but he's actually quite tall for a 12-year-old. He's probably maybe like 5'9" already. So he's like way bigger than my child. He looks like he may be like a 14 or 15-year-old, but he's only 12. So that's kind of the dynamic between those two, which is kind of why it had me worried a little bit. So I play cool, I kick back and I see what's going on, and then eventually both boys stop, they turn around and they get something from the snack bar. The bigger kid gets a candy bar, and then my son, he's walking away with a cup, so I'm thinking, okay, he bought like some juice or Gatorade or soda or something. And then as he's going back towards his practice, I'm like, is practice over? He's like, no, we just had a water break. So I'm like, okay, did you get a soda or what is that? He's like, no, I just got some water. I was like, okay. And then I was like, hey, did you buy a candy bar? And he's like, no, he actually took my $1, and tried to like laugh it off, like, And I'm like, he took your $1? Okay, let's go. Like, we gotta go get your $1 back, or we gotta, confront him some sort of way. And he's like begging me, like, no, Dad, like it's just $1, like chill out. And I'm thinking, okay, true, yeah, it is just $1. But the actual physical dollar is not the issue here. The issue is the principle. If you're letting him just take your money or whatever without any repercussions, any consequences, you're showing him that it's okay for him to bully you and take your lunch money, so to speak. So you need to go up to him and let him know, hey, this isn't cool, you can't take my money. And he begs me, he's like almost to the point where he's about to cry. He's like, no, Dad, just don't say anything. And I'm like, no, either we're gonna say something to him, or we're gonna say something to the coach, or we're gonna say something to his dad, because that's not cool. He's not just gonna be treating you any type of way. And so after like a minute or two of him like pleading, I give him the option, like, look, okay, if you don't want me to roll over there and kind of regulate and tell him something, tell his dad something or whatever, then you need to do it. You need to go up to him and say, hey, dude, you can't just be taking my money like that. My stuff is my stuff, and that's not cool. Because aside from just thinking that's okay, if other boys on the team saw that as well, they might think, hey, my son is the kid to go to. If you want some candy, you want something cool, his toys, video games, whatever he's got, like just take his stuff, you can punk him. Which, I'm old school, I'm from a different era, and stuff like that didn't go down when I was a kid. And so I'm not advocating for my child to go start a fight, but I did want him to stand up for himself, whether that ended up being, a serious confrontational situation or not. But my child, he's the total opposite of confrontational. He avoids it at all costs. He's quiet, he's shy, which was actually part of the reason why we put him in sports. so he can kind of come out of his shell a little bit, get to talk to kids his age, and gain a little bit of that sporting competition that you get when you compete against other kids. And so far it's been working well. So I gave him the option to go handle it himself. And then so he went back to practice, and I kind of, instead of watching my younger kid play baseball now, I'm kind of monitoring what's going on over there in practice. And I see he's kind of doing his own thing. He's in the batting cages. He's not avoiding the other kid, but he's just like staying, keeping his distance. So I go over there and I'm by the batting cages, and he comes out. I'm like, look, like, I'm not playing around. Like, you need to go up to him and say something, or I will. And some of the other kids on the team kind of heard me say that, and they're kind of looking around. So he's like, okay, I will. Just chill out, Dad. And he's giving me that look, like I'm embarrassing him tremendously. So I'm like, okay, like, you gotta handle it. It's getting handled today, one way or the other, either by you or by me. So, so I tell him, look, you got by the end of practice. If you don't do it by the end of practice, it's getting done by me. So he's like, okay, I'll do it by the end of practice. I step back over to the other field, my other kids playing, and I give him to the end of practice. I keep checking on him from time to time. So fast forward, practice is now over, and I see him grabbing his bag and stuff. So I go over and I'm like, look, man, don't worry about getting your baseball gear. Like, go handle business. And so he's like, he's reluctant, but he's like, all right. He's like, all right. So he starts walking over to another kid who was playing catch with another kid, and he's standing behind him and looking over towards me, and I'm like, don't look at me, like, step up, tell him. Don't look at me, like, tell him. So eventually he says something to the kid turns around, they talk for a second, and then he comes back over to me. So I tell him, like, or I ask him, like, what happened? And he says, oh, I told him, don't take my money. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, well, what did he say? And he's like, oh, he didn't say anything. So then I was thinking, like, on one hand, I'm happy that my son felt enough courage and stood up for himself enough to go up to him and say, hey, look, bro, like, don't take my money. That's not cool. But then on the other hand, I felt like the message didn't quite get across if the other kid just kind of looked at him like why are you talking to me? So then afterwards, practice was over, he grabs his gear, we go home, and I'm thinking, like, man, I don't feel like that kid really respects my son and gets that, hey, it's not cool to bully him or to take his stuff. So it kind of had me thinking, like, man, maybe I should have just, regardless of what my son wanted, gone up to him and like, hey, yo, did you take his $1? Like, you either need to give him the candy or give him his money back, because that's not cool, and make a scene with it, tell his folks, like, hey, look, I don't know if you know, but your son's over here doing yada yada yada, and because it would have got the desired effect that I wanted. It would have got the desired effect that I wanted, but then I think I might have lost an opportunity there with my son to get him to stand up for himself. I chose the other route because I realized, hey, I'm not always going to be there to fight his battles and to step up for him. But then I felt like he needed to see someone really stepping up to that bully, and then really. Oh, that's cool. All right. Bear with me, you guys, if it looks a little different. Tried to get this video out before the sunset, but Mother Nature, she's undefeated. She decided to go ahead and drop the sun on me, so I switched it up. The lighting might look a little different, but I'm still here. I'm still in the game. I'm still in effect. So that's what it was, you guys. Let me know if you think I did the right thing. Empowering my son, letting him handle the situation himself, however he saw fit, and then hopefully he could take away some confidence in that experience, even though we didn't get the desired result. Or if I should have kind of blew up the spot a little bit more, which is kind of what I was more used to, getting that kid, confronting him, letting his folks know, and then obviously achieving the desired result, but maybe not necessarily taking the right course of action. I don't know. Sound off in the comments below. Let me know if you're a dad, if you're a parental, if you're a father figure, you have kids, your kid's in that same situation, what would you have done? How do you handle your son or daughter getting bullied and picked on by a kid bigger than them? Okay, so if that was you in that same situation, what would you have done?
So I personally experienced being bullied as a kid. And I can remember going to my mom and telling her these stories I had about this kid jumping on me. And my mom specifically said, I remember these words like they were yesterday, you would have to whoop his ass because she couldn't be there with me on a daily basis. So I used that previous experience and to show and explain to my kids how to overcome being bullied. So to answer Doug's question is, I would have my son or daughter approach the individual that's bullying them at that moment in time to either ask back what's been taken from them, or we would have to have a talk with the parents. Not me specifically. I would take my son or daughter to the parents, and my son or daughter would explain the situation that happened. I think this kind of builds confidence for a child, so they can overcome certain situations as they get older, especially for high school. I think if we teach our kids how to speak up and how to be confident, I think they're less prone to being bullied as they get older. So at this point in age, when your child is young, you're able to prepare them with the necessary tools, which is confidence, to say yes or no, or defend themselves if they're being bullied.
I'm using it right now. I'll let you know. Fucking.
Let me sit down for this one.
Ready?
Yeah, my knee is like. Can we split?